Hey, greetings, class. So I've gotten a couple questions about your sexual philosophy papers, which are due toward the end of the semester, but I thought it's worth talking about right now so you have plenty of time to work on it. I'm putting the module up right now in class so you can submit the paper as early as you want to. But I thought it'd be good just to kind of do a video to explain the paper itself. So that's what we'll do. So let me pull up my little PowerPoint so we can have an image while we do this. And let me move my Zoom controls out of the way. There we go. All right. So this is your personal sexual philosophy paper. Now, this paper, as you're probably guessing, since it's a personal sexual philosophy paper, is subjective. So it's not going to be up to me to tell you your personal sexual philosophy is incorrect somehow. Of course, that's not the point of the paper. The point of the paper is that you develop your own personal sexual philosophy. And that way, it'll help you make decisions regarding relationships, whether they become sexual or not, right? In the future, that you have some basis to kind of ground your decisions in, right? That would be your own philosophy. So, kind of what works for you and why. Those are the important parts, right? So the what works for you part, that's subjective, right? That part's easy. The why part, that's really what I'm grading. So tell me why you reach this conclusion or how you reach this conclusion about your personal sexual philosophy. So, like I said, the purpose is for you to tell me that you have some comprehensive understanding of the course material. That's what I really want to see in your paper. So, if you think about, pick three things, you have to have at least three for this paper, but three concepts, big ideas from the class that helped shape your own personal sexual philosophy. And I can't tell you what those are because that's up to you, right? And then I want you to practice communicating those to me, because by communicating them to someone else and putting it on in paper, then you'll internalize that, at least in theory, right? And I want to see you, write an APA style. After all, this is a psychology course, and that's the writing style that psychologists use. So you're going to have to use references. And then the last part is for self-reflection and growth. And I think that's the most important part of this paper. Students in the past have told me this is one of the most impactful parts of the class because it's so personal. And so it kind of works like the more reflection, the more honesty you put into your paper, the more that you're going to get out of it as far as growth is concerned. So the more reflecting you do, the more you can grow, right? And if you think you've already reached your personal sexual philosophy, well, that's great. Just tell me about it and give me some references to, concepts we went over in our class. That helps you, reach that conclusion. Okay, so for the assignment itself, what I want you to do is you're going to pick those three topics that were impactful for you, and that's totally up to you. Anything we've talked about in class is fair game for this paper. If you want to look ahead in chapters that we haven't covered yet, go for it, right? Look all over the book for these three ideas. You've probably encountered them, I would imagine, though, as you're going, as we're going through the class and we're talking about a concept and you have that thought, oh, that reminds me of this time, or maybe that explains why about your life. Well, that's a good example of the type of thing that should be in your paper. So you're going to select these three topics that are impactful and you're going to tell me about them in general, right? And then the second part is, okay, now you're going to apply them to you, to your life. So in general, here's what this concept means. For me in my life, here's how it applies, right? And then I want you to include some type of citation for this concept itself. Now, I want these to be scientific topics because this is a psychology course and we're a behavioral science. So you're going to have to find scientific literature, that is concerned with or regarding or just completely about the topic that you've chosen and list that. That's probably a good thing to do when you're telling about the topic in general. Use these sources for like a general understanding of the topic and then go on and explain how it applies to you personally. If you want an example of this, okay, so here's an example. If I were writing this paper in my own personal sexual philosophy, maybe I would pick a concept like reasons that people have sex. And you can look up survey research on that and all the reasons they do and don't have sex. And then I might talk about, for me, I'm developed and I have my own philosophy where I'm just not interested in sex without relational intimacy. Just not something I'm interested in. Doesn't mean you have to think that way, but that's the way I think. It's my philosophy, right? So if I looked up information on that, maybe I do a search. I go through the library databases into EBSCOhost, and I do a search for like definitions of intimacy or sexual intimacy and find out the ways that that can be defined. Most of those definitions will be something like, intimacy comes from components of vulnerability and trust. Like, you're trusting someone enough to be vulnerable with them, right? And that creates kind of then a resolution and a comfort, right? And an intimacy with that person. So I'm not interested in, sex where it doesn't have that type of intimacy. And then maybe you look it up and it expands your definition. So that's me when I was looking up definitions of intimacy. And then I found like, no, what's important to me is not just this basic definition, but that it's also reciprocated. So now it becomes personal, right? So the personal part is, you know, tried it, been there, done that, not interested in kind of casual sex, just doesn't work so well for me. I want the relationship to, but I also want this intimacy reciprocated. So I want someone who's also looking for the same type of intimacy and that we can be vulnerable and trusting together. Right. That's what I'm interested in. So I could explain that. And that's part of my personal sexual philosophy. And I could provide, a reference citation for research that was done on the topic. And that's what I'm looking for, right? So give me three topics kind of in general, and then make each one of those personal and not general, and give me a citation for each one. So you should have a total of three citations within the body of your text. And then you should on your references page, you should have three reference citations, right? So like the full citation on the references page and the abbreviated citation, the authors and the year within the body of your text. If you need a refresher on how to do that, go watch the previous video in the article summary, where you can see a breakdown of exactly how to do those citations. All right. Then some basic paper details, right? I want, double space, 12 point Times New Roman font, 1 inch margins, and at least 3 full pages of writing. So your title page and your references page does not count toward these 3 full pages of writing. I want to see 3 full pages of your thoughts, right? So I do want a title page. I do want a references page, but I won't count those, toward 3 full pages of writing. So make sure that you use citations in the body of your text and use citations on the references page, and make sure those are primary sources. So I want you to look up actual studies that have been done. I don't want to see, a link to a website or a magazine article. Will not count, and you'll lose a lot of points. So make sure that you're going into the library databases. Go to EBSCOhost. You can go to different databases about the psychology behavioral sciences collection is a really good one. You might find something in the health literature as well, but make sure that it's an actual study that was done that you're citing. Um, okay, so here's a suggested outline if you want to see, a little more detail about how you might write the paper. Give me an intro. After your title page, give me an intro, describe the purpose of your sexual philosophy, and outline of what's to come in the next sections of your paper. And then you can think of each one of your topics as its own section, right? So topic 1, tell me in general about this sexual topic, and then apply it to yourself, provide a reference. Just do that 3 times. Not too tough to do. And then your conclusion, take all 3 of those points that you made and synthesize them together. It means like put them all together and talk about how they make sense together for you and make up your personal sexual philosophy. That's it. And then, well, give me the references page, and that's really all there is to it. The last thing I wanted to say about this paper is that I know that it's very personal paper, and that might make it a bit awkward for you to write. Um, I'm not going to share this with anybody. I'm going to delete them after I grade them, so they won't be hanging around. I don't save them. They don't leave Canvas, right? So you don't have to worry about that. We'll respect your confidentiality and your anonymity, right? And the other thing, sometimes I've said, it feels so personal. I don't want you to hear it, like meaning me, not just like a general professor, but like me. Man, I can say this about that. No matter what you write, even if you write about things that are hard for you to write about, you are not alone. Every class, people are having similar experiences. There are some things that are universal, about human emotion that show up in papers. And there is support out there for you. If you're a person who thinks you might need support, I mean, like emotional support or cognitive support, like you want to see a therapist, I can help you find somebody. Um, but I'm not going to judge you based on what you write in your paper. I'm also not going to tell you that your personal sexual philosophy is wrong. It is up to you, right? What it is. And no one will see it. And then, oh, in more regard to writing to me, remember, you're not writing to me, you're writing a paper. Um, I, and I don't take this personally. I won't remember. I won't be able to connect the thoughts from your paper to you, next time I see you. I'm reading so many of these and I've read so many over the years that I just wouldn't remember. But more to the point, I wouldn't judge you anyway. There you go. So you don't have to worry about that. You can be, I hope you feel comfortable to be completely honest with me. Um, and trust that I'm not going to share your information with anybody else. Okay, so if you have more questions about this paper, feel free to send me emails, and I can answer them in your email. Maybe you'd even become like a good Q&A video that I've been making for the class. Okay, gang, I will talk to you later. Hope you have a good day. Bye.